Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in this video I'm doing my September reading wrap-up. I read 3 books in September, although I did do kind of a big head start on my October reads. I started Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo early, because October is going to be a busy month for me, and I also kind of have a lot of reading plans. I've got a lot of spooky books this year. But jumping right into what I read in September, I started the month off with Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. And I'm pretty sure I've only read one book by Lauren Oliver before this, and that was Replica, which was a duology that I DNF'd because it was kind of a big disappointment for me. The concept for that book was really cool, but I didn't end up enjoying it as much as I thought I would. But I had seen the movie for this one, so I still went in with fairly high hopes because I enjoyed the movie quite a bit despite it being a concept that doesn't usually work for me, which is a Groundhog Day concept. And after the first chapter, I honestly was wondering, wow, how did I possibly enjoy this movie? Because the main character is so unbearably unlikable in the first chapter. And the chapters are quite long because each chapter covers a different day within the Groundhog Day concept. And yeah, the main character was just very insufferable and very shallow and mean. But this was obviously intentional. The concept of this book is that at the end of this day, the main character dies, she wakes up and lives the same day again, and it takes place over the course of a week. And so there's like a lot of character growth. The character obviously is needing to kind of like learn a lesson before her death, or because of her death, depending on how you want to look at that. But yeah, so at the end of the first chapter, I was really questioning the book, but the author does manage to pull off the character growth and have the character get better over the course of the book. And along the way, you do kind of start to get over that first chapter of the character being really unbearable. So I did end up enjoying this one quite a bit. I don't really know if I liked the book or the movie better because it's been so long since I've seen the movie and I couldn't find it on streaming anymore, so I couldn't do a rewatch even though I really wanted to. But I did definitely enjoy the book. It was quite engaging. After that, I read a book that I have been wanting to read for years, ever since the first time I saw it at Barnes & Noble, because I thought it had such a pretty cover, and also you can just immediately tell that it's like a fantasy book, and fantasy's pretty much my #1 genre, that and contemporary YA, and it was like clearly a YA fantasy. So it's been on my TBR for a very long time, pretty highly anticipated, and that is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now, I've just said how highly anticipated this was for me, but at the same time, it has been on my radar for so long that I was a little bit worried that maybe I had waited too long and I would read it and think, wow, I really would have loved this when I saw it 5 or however many years ago, but now that I'm older, I'm not enjoying it. Because I am aware it's a pretty kind of tropey YA fantasy. I was a little bit surprised by like the dystopian aspects of it. But yeah, so anticipated, but also I was worried that I had waited so long that it would feel like I missed the boat on it. And while it was definitely pretty tropey, fairly predictable, I had a really fun time reading it. It did have major Hunger Games vibes, especially at the beginning of the book. And with that, there were like a couple storyline things that kind of just got dropped and never mentioned again. Like it was trying to get that Hunger Games hype, but it didn't actually want to tell that kind of story. But I didn't really care because again, I had a fun time. The love square in the book was, for me, pretty compelling. I thought all of the 3 love interests really felt like they had like a fair shot at actually becoming the main love interest. They all had their faults, they all had their good aspects, at least at the beginning. And so for me, it was actually one of the more compelling love. This one was a square, usually it's a triangle, but it was one of the more compelling love squares that I've read. So yeah, if you're looking for a tropey YA fantasy dystopian mix that maybe isn't the best written thing ever, but that is still a lot of fun, I would recommend this one. And then finally in September, before getting my October head start, I read The Mothers by Brit Bennett. Brit Bennett is a somewhat new author, but already very critically acclaimed. She also wrote The Vanishing Half, which I think is definitely her biggest work so far. But this was her debut and it was also critically acclaimed. So when I saw it, I'm pretty sure in a little free library, I thought, sure, I'll try it. I'm not huge on literary fiction, but these are so talked about. And there was definitely some like very beautiful writing, very lyrical prose in here. There were some lines that were just like so good. The characters were well drawn. I definitely can see the critical acclaim for this one. But again, literary fiction is not my top genre. So for me personally, enjoyment level wise, it was just okay. But I'm glad I read it. It was a short read. I am going to keep it. I debated unhauling it, but I have plenty of room on my literary fiction shelf, so I am going to go ahead and keep it. It definitely was thought-provoking, and I do enjoy just dipping my toes into literary fiction on occasion. So yeah, those were the 3 books that I read for September. I'm very excited for my October reads. I'm not a huge horror thriller fan, but I do have a lot of potentially good ones on my TBR right now, and so I am doing a whole horror thriller set of books for October, which I don't usually theme read in October very much, so it's exciting. Let me know down below what you read in September and if you have any fun spooky reads planned for October. I hope you enjoyed watching. Remember, words matter.